Eka Hotel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we are grateful to Eka Hotel for providing us this wonderful facility and also for accommodating our guests who are arriving from today. So we'll now start off our program officially, and I'd like to introduce our first speaker. So let's kindly have our slides go. Finance. She's a 3-time author and part-time lecturer at Strathmore University. She's an entrepreneur and investor and current director at Zurich Insurance Agency, and also a wife and proud areas where now she's now sharing knowledge with regard to financial planning, and she's also a certified life coach. Her credentials: she has a BCom, as well as a CPA and an MBA. She's currently a doctoral fellow and is actually pursuing a PhD. Her books: she has one called Managing Your Finances God's Way, and also there's a workbook by the same title, and Smart Money Habits. So I'll circulate the books once she sends for me on soft, and you can get in touch with her about to access these books. So without further ado, welcome Gladys on stage, and thank you so much. Let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you. Testing.
Thank you. Could I? Okay, to just check whether it's loud. So thank you so much, Dr. Ray, for that introduction. Thank the team that organized this conference. Is to just thank them for going to have a virtual audience. One of the other things, we've really moved into virtual a lot. So it will have forced me to sit in one space. And I'll want to spot a quiet corner and walk straight to where that quiet corner is and ask a question. Okay? So thank you very much. Please just have your notes. I only have 50 minutes. We may not be able to do a deep dive into any of the content that you're going to be looking at today. Okay, so I'll start. Okay. Oh, there you go. I'll start with a question. And this is individual. You're going to have sessions where you're going to discuss with your next neighbor or table discussions. I'm giving you 1 minute to address this question. Now, which of these two earning options running for a period of, or a fixed 2-year period would you choose? Yeah, so I just want you to read through, and I'll read, then give you 1 minute to think. Yeah, so option 1, you earn a bob, 1 shilling in month 1. Yeah, then in each subsequent month, the previous amount is doubled. Yeah, what does this mean? Month 1, you earn 1 shilling. Month 2, you earn 2 shillings. Month 3, you earn 4. So the previous amount is doubled, and so on, till 2 years are done. Option 2, you earn a fixed amount of 100K each month for 2 years. Month 1, 100K. Month 2, 100K. Month 3, 100K, and so forth, till 24 months are done. So 1 minute, and the clock ticks from now. Just think through, decide whether you're team option 1 or team option 2, and then just hold that answer. We'll come back to it. 1 minute only. I don't know who's going to keep the time for me. I'm literally counting the seconds. We can't help but discuss. I can just hear those whispers. Thank you. Thank you very much. Time is up. So please, let's not belabor on that. Let's park that. Let's park that. Yeah? So why is financial planning important? Why was I given that topic? By the way, I didn't choose it. I was just told Gladys, just come and talk about financial planning to young consultants. And I desisted from asking questions. Because one of the things I've learned or I've had growing up is that the more senior a colleague, not a colleague, a doctor is, or a person working in the in the medical field is, the better they are. So doctor, according to me, is very subjective. So I do want to ask about the demography and all. I just said I'll just come and we'll hold a discussion. So it's to young consultants, but we are all young, I guess, when it comes to the medical field, yeah? But why financial planning? Why should we care about financial planning? Anyone? Why should we care? Why can't we just earn the big salaries and enjoy our lives? Yeah? Yeah. And I'm happy. Yeah, the word retired or retirement is coming in early in the day. Yeah, you don't want to just be living on edge. You're making money, you're using it all up. Then what happens when you can't work actively? And we'll dig deeper into retirement just a bit more in this afternoon. Please, Dr. Ray.
Yeah, it's part of the wellness spectrum in terms of, because again, if you manage your finances well, you can take care of your family, you're able to grow your practice.
Yeah.
And like I said, also have time to enjoy other things in life. Take holidays and other things, yeah.
Agreed. Money is an enabler to so many things, yeah? Without money, we can have plans, left, right, and center. Money in itself is not enough. Or does anybody have a goal that their goal is to make a lot of money? And a lot of money, of course, you define that for yourself. Does anybody have such a goal? You do? We'll get to goal setting later, but that's not a good goal. I'll tell you for free, you'll get to that amount, that one that you consider really a huge amount right now, and I'm telling you, you look for more, and then you'll get there and ask yourself, then what? Yeah, but it's an end. It makes life more enjoyable, yeah? Someone said it ranks high up there with oxygen. Yeah, money. Yeah, so anyway, for me, I just want to impress on you why and why now, especially the second bit. Yeah, we all at some point get to a point where we start thinking about financial planning. Sometimes because maybe the clock has ticked and you're wondering what will happen. I've got maybe 10 years of active working or 15. Yeah, or just something occurs to you, just hits you and you decide, okay, I need to start today. Yeah, but I always say that financial planning should start the minute you're able to take charge of your money. Yeah? Some of these things should have started while you were in campus. You know the way, especially the ones who stayed away from home. Yeah, for me, I commuted from home daily. So I was given my daily allowance, you know, my lunch, my commute money. Yeah, from uni, I used to do my CPAs part-time, so that, I was given that every day. So I could say someone planned for me. But those used to get a lump sum in maybe once a month, or you're given your amount, you know, to manage for a whole semester. Did any of you manage to save? Yeah? So the planning should start the minute you have money to take care of. Yeah? So you should be able to do that and even plan and save from the very first time when you start earning. Okay, so why? The sooner you start, the better, because you've got the luxury of time. Okay, so I picked this particular, let me call it an image from the Capital Markets website some time back, and I really, really like it. It gives me a good summary of what I'm talking about. Right, so we've got Investor A's portfolio and Investor B's portfolio. So let's say retirement age, or rather you're supposed to work up until what, 60 years, for argument's sake. Yeah, so Investor A decides to start investing at age 20. At age 20, so that they've got 40 years clear to invest. Yeah, the same as Investor B. They've got up until age 60. After that, they'll be forced to retire. So the difference is Investor A begins investing at age 20, Investor B begins investing at age 40, so that they only have 20 years to invest. Okay, so Investor A puts aside 150. Yeah, and we all know when you start off, you're hustling. Yeah, most of us will begin from entry level, you know, positions, don't earn much, no experience and all. So, but they're smart. 150 from day one, and they've got 40 years to play with. Investor B, it occurs to them that they've got only 20 years to to retire. So they begin putting aside 300 shillings, which is double what Investor A puts aside. Yeah, so what happens is that if you check the total investment, it all adds up to 72K. If you just take the figures and multiply, 150 by 40 years gives you 72K, 300 by 20 gives you 72K. Okay, and then annual interest compounded yearly at 9%, pardon me for the typo there, 9%. Okay, so when Investor A puts away the 150, it's compounded, yeah, at 9%. Yeah, for that whole time from day one when they start putting aside the money. Investor B, the same, at 90%. But now, I'd want you to look at the total value of the account at the end of the investment period. Yeah? Do we all understand what compounding is? Compounding, compounded interest? Yeah? Okay. So that's what it sums up to for Investor A, 667. Yeah, 637, 202, 432, 434. Yeah, because they've got the luxury of time. The money has grown slowly and effortlessly. Yeah, this person, Investor A, possibly they can put away more than 150 at some point in time. Maybe it could even get to 500 etc. as their incomes increase. Yeah, so just one way to let you know why investing needs to begin today rather than later. And then, of course, life happens. Yeah, from when we move from being a dependent, and I'd want to place age 0 to 25 at the dependency stage. Yeah, possibly, you know, you're first in school, and now making the assumption that you'll be done with college and possibly starting to earn some income at age 25. Yeah, so before you're at age 25, to me, you're dependent, and of course beyond age 65. Yeah, you're dependent. So in between, yeah, ages 25 to 33 years, yeah, your interest to invest is just low. Yeah, Gladys will come and talk to you, pour my heart out, yeah, get you to understand that you need to start financial planning today. You listen, you're happy, and you go away, and life goes on as usual. Yeah, 25 to 33. And not everybody, but majority. Yeah, 0 interest in that. And that's the time you can take on any investment. You're allowed to try, miss, get up, try another investment, etc. Yeah, you're supposed to be very risk tolerant. Why? Again, because you've got the luxury of time. You've got time to correct. You've got time to make all mistakes till you get your footing. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's what I've said. At that age, you have many years to recoup losses, but not very keen to invest. Yeah, and some are still dependent. Some still live at home at that age, or some still depend on their family or their parents for support, even if they moved out. 33 to 45, investment interest, at least you begin paying attention to financial planning, to investing, to saving, to protecting your wealth. Yeah, you begin doing that. Risk profile still remains high. Yeah, but that's the point you can easily make mistakes. Anything goes. I come in here today and I tell you, guys, let's go buy land at, I should have learned the cities in Eldoret. Yeah, someplace. But I'm sure as you got here, you saw so many of those numbers. Yeah, so I just tell you, know what? The next airport is going to be 50 meters away. Let's buy. You buy. Anything goes, because the money is there. Yeah, you're able to do that. Let's invest in what? In coils. Yeah, and all that. That's a point you're more susceptible to ideas that come, including the ones that are fake. Yeah? It's easy to get you to join, a pyramid scheme or join an investment that doesn't work. And sometimes it's out of pressure. Yeah, you're talking to your 8 mates and then you discover everybody has a piece of land somewhere. And I'm 30 and I have none. Yeah, not even a clue how I'll start purchasing one. Yeah, people start talking about what Ubers or other forms of taxis. I've got two working to get to my 10th by the end of the year, and you rush to buy your first. Yeah, so there's a lot of that, yeah, around that age. Ages 45 going to 55, high to medium term activity in terms of investing, but then again, you're more cautious. Yeah, you take very, very calculated risk. Even as anyone is telling you about an opportunity, you're keen to check. You ask questions. Yeah, so but at this same time, there is increased expenses. You're now taking care of ailing parents. Yeah, your children possibly, have grown. Yeah, they're now like in uni. So of course the fees, you're paying up a lot more. Yeah, and so you're keen on moving to passive investments. Yeah, because then your time is taken up on so many things around that age. Yeah, age 55 to 65. You're very careful. Yeah, risk profiling. They're able to listen to you for an hour and another one, and then calmly tell you no. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. No, that. Try it on younger people, etc. They have learned many lessons. Many lessons. They have bought matatus, lost money. They have gotten poultry. They've all been swept out by a flu. They tried pig farming, there was no market. They have tried many, many, many things. Yeah, they have no money to waste on ideas. Yeah, and time. And some at this point, that's when they get their awakening. Yeah. Age 55, they're those who live well. And then around that age, that's when, oh my goodness, I have 10 years to go. If you're a lecturer like me, at age 55, you've got about 15 to go. Yeah, so that's the time many. So some get their awakening, and then of course beyond age 65. Yeah, you've even started distributing part of what you've consolidated around age 55 to 65, because that's the point when now you start sobering up. And I'm saying that quote unquote. You're thinking about all these eighths of an acre that you have all over the place. An eighth in Kamulu, an eighth in Syokimau, I don't know where. Yeah, so you're thinking about maybe selling, and many other things, consolidating your pensions and all of those things. Yeah, so at age 65, risk profile extremely low. You can't imagine losing out. You can't. Yeah, so life will happen. Again, another reason why financial planning needs to start. It will always not be like this. We will always not be young consultants. The energy we have now will not be there a couple of years down the line. And even if that energy is there, the situation will change. Many other things will happen. Again, compounding. I like this quote by Albert Einstein. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So I want us to do some very quick math. And this is a point you can pull out your phone, and I won't think you've gone to check what's happening on social media. Please, let's do some quick math. Okay, so the magic of compound interest is just a tip I want to give you. One quick way to check how fast your investment can grow. So this is a rule of 72. Yeah, and this, I want you to look at this column as age. Starting off your investment at age, or your investment journey at age 29. Age 29. So what it means is that, I'm using four options. Investing at 4%, at 6%, 8%, and 12%. So what the rule says is that, when you divide 72 by the interest rate or inflation rate, you're able to estimate the number of years it takes for your money to double. Yeah, to double. And please pay attention, for or against you. If someone has loaned you at the same rate, yeah, that's, you'd be on the losing side. And if you're on the, say you're the one who's invested, you'd be gaining. Hence why for and against. Now this is how it works. Please take 72 divided by 4. 4 as an absolute number, don't do the percentage. 72 divided by 4, what do we get? 18. 18. So, at age 29, you invest your 1,000 shillings, and at 4%. You're not taking it away. You're compounding that amount. So 1,000 shillings. So 29 plus 18. Please confirm that it gets you to 47. Yeah? So at age 47, that's the time your 1,000 shillings will have doubled to 2,000. And I'm doing this to make it very simple, yeah? Your 1,000 can be 1,000,000 shillings, Your 1,000 can be 100K, your 1,000 can be 10K. It's just for ease of computation. Then, at age 47, your 1,000 shillings will have doubled. Now, if you take age 47 years plus another 18, it moves you to 65. So that investor who started off at 29, investing at 4%, by age 65, the amount would have grown to 4,000, yeah, fourfold. And again, 65 plus 18 gets you to 83. Your amount doubles again to 8K. You can do this quick computation on anything that you have that's being compounded. Money market, yeah? You can do this projection yourself, yeah? The same, now, starting again at age 29, investing at 6%. Yeah, 72 divided by 6. Yeah, 12. So at 29 again, starting off at 1,000 shillings. 29 plus 12 takes you to 41 years. So at age 41, your amount doubles. Yeah, you can see the difference. Why? Because the interest rate is higher, so you're getting to your goal faster. Yeah, so age 41, the amount doubles. Add another 12 to the 41. At age 53, you're at 4K, and so on. By the time you get to age 65, you'll be at 8. Yeah, 8,000, 80,000, 800,000, 8 million, 8B. Why not? Yeah, at 8%, 72 divided by 8, 9 years. It takes 9 years for your amount to double when it's being compounded at 8%. 29, age 29, 1,000, 38, 2K, 47, and so on. Yeah, 72 divided by 12, 6, the same. Starting off at age 29 plus 6, at age 35, your amount will have doubled. Yeah, and by these numbers, that's what we find, even in like just very, very conservative ways of investing. Like, for example, a money market fund. These are rates we find, 12%. Yeah, instead of taking that 1,000 shillings and using it in just any way, just because we can. Yeah, see what it can do for you at 12%. Now we have providers offering this kind of returns. Yeah, so see how fast. 29. In 6 short years, the amount has doubled. In another 6 years, the amount doubles again. Yeah, and I often say 5 years is a very short time, because I like to compare that with our elections, our local elections. We hold elections, and shortly we are holding other elections. So what will happen to you in another 5 years? You know, life continues, whether you're doing something about it or not. Yeah, so 6 years is a very short time. In those 6 years, your investment, if you're not touching it, compounding at that rate, it continues to grow. And guess what? If you put in more than that amount, it grows faster. Yeah, nothing stops you from making that 1,000 to maybe doubling it or tripling it, or even getting a lump sum and throwing it in there. Yeah, money continues to grow, but the onus is on us. Now, I like this table a lot. During COVID period, what the former president did. During COVID period. Please. Yes, thank you very much. He reduced the rate of PAYE. And I often say that was a period many of us got an increment. Many of us. Why? You were not, okay, other than, I don't know, maybe your nature of work. Some of us even got to say, first you're not using up money, you're not commuting to work, you're not doing all those things. Yet, we got a relief in terms of the tax that we needed to pay. Yeah, I like using this table so much to just let you know that we all can. We all can. I worked with someone here and I can't find them. They're very lucky. And I told them by the end of the talk, I'll convince them where they can find money to invest. Yeah, because it's there. Look at this. Anyone earning below 24K was not being taxed at the time. Yeah, so from the old deduction, that was a saving for them, 1,477 as a minimum, because I think everybody should have been putting aside more. I keep saying even without the relief, many go to save because limited commute, people could eat from home and all, work from home, etc. But just working with the figures that you go to save. Yeah, those earning 30K, they go to save 1760. You see, whatever the deduction less, what was ordinarily taxed before the relief. Now look at what those savings could do for you. Yeah, investing the same in a money market fund at a conservative rate of 9%. Yeah, so you take the 1,477 every month, don't touch it, just throw it to your money market fund. And you can do that using your phone, yeah, through M-Pesa. Yeah, then just send it there and then continues compounding at 9%. See what it grows to a quarter down the line. Then another 6 months, 9 months, 18 months, you already have 18,478. What can 18K do for you? 18K? $18K? I hope there's no one saying that little money. I hope nobody's saying that little money. Yeah? Then let's jump. You know your range, eh? In fact, I should have gone, I don't know, till like what? 5 million? How far should I have gone down? Yeah? I stopped at 1 million shillings. Just look at how much some people were saving. For me, I dare call it a saving. You didn't have this money. And it was just an announcement one day by the head of state. He didn't have to do it. 50K. 627. Remember those taxes I was talking about? You'd have bought a car where these Ubers that were being bought new, they were 600 and something. At COVID time, even the amount went low. That would have been a brand new car. Yeah? And then passive income for you, because then, you know, you just hire someone and they get to get some money for you. So every time someone tells me, Gladys, you know, there's no money, or the economy. Yeah, we even blame the exchange rate sometimes, and some people are not affected directly. Yeah? Always, all these excuses are there. And another example I like to give is during the time we got subsidies for fuel and maize flour. Yeah, fuel and maize flour. First it was there, then it wasn't there. Taxes were low, then they were increased. There was no housing levy, then there's a housing levy. Are we surviving? Has someone gone without food because taxes were increased or the subsidy was lifted? We still survived. So you're able to accommodate some bit of discomfort to make sure that your future is taken care of. And I can give you many examples. But I like to just point out what small money can do. Because I meet people every day who tell me, Gladys, I do not invest, I do not save, because I don't have money. I don't know where to find it. I don't need to sit with you for more than 5 minutes. I'll pick it. Because we all can. Is money good or is money bad? Please tell your neighbor. Yeah? Uh-huh. I like that. Both sides of the coin. Is money good or bad? Money is good. I don't want to hear from someone who says money is bad. And if you don't want to share your own idea, share your neighbors. We said you can compare notes. Yeah, so if your neighbor said money is good, please share, and then we can see whether to negate that or agree with you. Is money good? Is money good? A majority. Is money bad? No, I heard a good loud no somewhere, but I can't tell from where. Who'll want to tell me why money is bad? Money is not bad, eh? Yeah? Okay, then can I hear, why is money good? But I'd also want to hear, there's an answer here that it depends. Yeah, can be both good and bad, depending. But why is money good? Let's start with the majority. Why is money good? Anyone? Please. If only stairs were right here, I'd have been down there already. Thank you. There's a hand there. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Well, it facilitates things to happen, lifestyle, enjoyment, entertainment. Yeah, it enables us to enjoy life better.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it makes happy living possible, eh? Yeah, the good thing is it causes you to work harder, so it makes that possible. Please.
We have someone here who says money is bad.
Ah, wonderful. Please, let's pay attention and see whether we can agree or disagree.
Sorry, yeah, I believe money is bad. Everything should have been free. Why do we need money? Everything should have been free. And how much is good money?
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, and there's okay, please, as Dr. Rick gets the mic.
Money is a good thing because it's a medium of exchange. So for me, I don't look at it in terms of the physical money, but for you to exchange something you have for something you do not have, then the medium there is money or cash.
Yeah, thanks. And it brings also, it makes it easy, yeah, to transact. Others giving various items value. Yeah, in fact, I'll want to sit near him at one point and he tells me, how do we survive if everything was free? Yours for the taking. Yeah, because he's talking about having that as a medium of exchange, a measure of value. So that now if you want to buy, say, one of my books, yeah, like Smart Money Habits at $9.50, if you're just to take the nature of scarcity, what if someone took that before the other? So who's more entitled than the other? Yeah, maybe just looking at it as, maybe just that, a measure of value. Now, the two, where I'm pointing at that is that the two kind of work together. Please.
Yeah, so money is a contingency in the setting of emergencies. So if we fall sick all of a sudden, if your house burns down, then with money you can be able to respond to emergencies. So it's a good backup or contingency.
A backup for contingency, yeah, helps take care of all these emergencies, yeah, that bankrupt us. Because, you know, you go, changes your circumstances. But then going back to what he said, what if those medical services were free? Yeah, or, yeah, if you go back to his point, yeah, your car breaks down, you just pick the next one and drive away. Yeah, you see? But anyway, so money, I always say, brings out the best and the worst in you. Yeah, and just check, if you're a person, a giver, the more you get, you become, you know, the more philanthropic you are. If you're a mean person, if you're arrogant, it brings it all out. Yeah? But what I say, make money, don't get obsessive about it, but you know, just using money as a way to help you, not just get by life, but you know, even help you achieve your goals and those who depend on you. Yeah? Do we just work for ourselves, by the way? Who just has done their planning up to when they'll be maybe 60, 65, 70, and then they don't care about what happens after that? Are there those in the room? Because you're supposed to think beyond yourself. Yeah, what about your children? And their children. Yeah, your legacy. I just want you to just have the abundance mindset. Yeah, please don't make money your enemy. Teach your money to stay. Yeah, teach your money to stay. There are those who have no salaries by the end of the month. The other day I was talking to some bankers. They told me, Gladys, by 30th, the end of that particular month, they have no money. But you know, bankers are paid early, 23rd, 24th. They've already paid loans, they've done everything, they've done what they call sherehes, you know, they've gone out, whatever, and now they literally just have money to get them, to the end of the month. Yeah? So make sure that you don't let money cause you to be a person who's anxious or fearful. Because now those thoughts are what make or break you. Yeah, they become things. When your thought is that I don't have money all the time, yeah, as opposed to just being positive, you're thankful for the money that you have. Yeah, but just being in that state of gratitude, you're able to think straight on how else then can you make money, as opposed to saying you don't have enough. Because now if you operate from a scarcity mentality in this case, you'll be stuck up at the point of fear. You're not even moving. Why try? Why try and I can't even get out of this state, etc. Don't operate from a point of fear. Yeah? Anxiety. Being stressed out about money. Being stressed because your friend now has an iPhone 15 or have a newer car or lives in a better neighborhood. Yeah? Or, possibly your folks are asking why you already don't have a home. Yeah? So just peace of mind. Check what it is. And depending on your goals, it will cost you to start thinking on what else you can do to grow your monies, yeah, and what you can do to cut back on your cost. Yeah, when you operate from a point of scarcity mentality, you spend your entire income very easily. Because you see, you're asking yourself, what is it for anyway? It's never enough. Yeah? But you see, if you soberly plan, you'll make wise choices. You'll have positive outcomes. Yeah, you'll enjoy financial security at the end of the day. And remember, financial security is very personal. It's very, very personal. It's someone who would be happy just having one nice family car, a home in a nice neighborhood, and then that's it. But is that to financial security, a home by the beach, etc., etc. Define for yourself what financial security is. Yeah? And you will work towards that over time, yeah, as opposed to the opposite. You'll get these notes, yeah. So even as this is shared, I just want to to get you to assess your own money mindset, yeah. What does money make you feel? When you have a lot of money, do you have your spring to your walk? Do you speak louder? Yeah. Do you, harass others? Yeah. There are all those things. What does money make you feel? And by the way, check out how you behave after payday and the week before when you're literally counting the days to payday. How do you feel when you have no money? Are you the kind that goes calling everybody? I'm telling you, because you have no money. Are you that kind? Please assess yourself. Do certain things induce feelings of superiority? Yeah, that when people talk about your car, or your phone, or where you live, that day your day is made. Yeah? Does lack of certain things make you feel inferior? That I'll sit here with Daktari, he pulls out his iPhone 14 or 15, and I hide my Android phone. Yeah? How do you feel when you lose a prized possession? Some self-work. Now, option 1, option 2. Who are option 1? Who said they want their 1 bob doubled every day? 1 shilling doubled every day? Please, I hope I can just have someone to check those hands. I don't want them to change later. Okay, option 2, 100K every month? Okay, nothing? Who didn't even do anything? Who's not on either side? No, that vote is rigged. Anyway, fine. Anyway, so 10 months down the line, that's what it looks like. Yeah, if you're earning a bob that keeps being doubled, this is what your earning would be. Month 1, 2, 3. Yeah, really, your bob, 2 shillings, 4, 8, 16. Cumulatively, you see this how 1 plus the other 2, 3, like that. You get cumulative. And then option 2 where you're earning 1,000 per month. This what already made 1 million shillings by month 10. Very, very happy. Option 2. Yes. Yes. Yeah. But this is a perfect case scenario. Many factors kept constant. Yeah. Month 11, your amount continues to grow. Yeah. Cumulative and a half year down the line. Yeah. Option 2, your 100K has grown to 1.8 million. Yeah. That's your 18 months by 100K every month. By the way, we are not compounding, we are not doing anything. We're just talking with those amounts. Now you're already getting teased by people, eh? The ones who ask now you, what's your problem? Yeah, why aren't you growing? Why aren't you, when will we see this house? Last stretch. This for me is just to impress upon you the importance of delayed gratification. Consistency makes a lot of difference. I often say, I'd rather a person who puts aside 5K every month and invests it is better than a person who looks for the 60K at the end of the year. Yeah, wait for that bonus and invest it. Yeah, 5K, that money could be growing. You've set it aside, and most importantly is that you're creating a habit. Yeah, if you're the kind of person who wait for that 60K, 5K by 12, then your savings or your planning is only based on, it would only work if you get windfalls. Yeah? Okay, so in assessing your financial status, very important for you to know your net worth, your starting point. Do you know what you own? Everything you own. Everything. Are you able to give a value to that piece of land you have? Kamuli is people love it, I don't know. Yeah, and Kitengela and the rest. Are you able to quantify the assets that you have? And I often advise that you separate your investment assets and your an expensive home, an expensive car, and you don't have investments that will work for you. You have no bonds, you have no shares, you don't have a nice, insurance cover. Yeah, all of those things. Yeah. Then do you have a working budget? I have categorically used the word working budget. A budget that you review every so often. Yeah, because it's that habit of writing a budget and you never even look at it. And you write it at the end of the year. Or January, because you're all fired up, it's a new year. Yeah, working budget, you're able to analyze, just check how well are you doing in terms of making your budget make sense. And then do you have well-written financial goals and a plan to achieve them? Yeah, by the way, how many of us have written financial goals? Written financial goals? We all must have financial goals. If you don't have that, again, by the way, it doesn't matter what I'm talking about here. Even your budget, why do you need a budget if you have no financial goals? Yeah, because that's your drive. Once you have your financial goals written, that's what will cause you to work harder. That's what will cause you to put money aside. That's what will bring to the fore what's important to you. And the ones who have goals but in the mind, then you're still doing poorly. Yeah, you need to have very, very well articulated goals and smart goals, quantified with dates. Yeah, I want to own a home by 31st December, a 3-bedroom house in Kilimani worth X amount. It's the only way you'll work backward and make that dream possible. Otherwise, I want to own a home, by the way, and those are not goals. If they're not smart, they're not goals. Yeah? So this, I'll let you do your own math as well. Eh? I always say be your own yardstick. Don't compare yourself with somebody else. One quick way to tell whether you're doing well, checking your net worth. Your net worth is what? Your assets. Everything you own, less what you owe. Yeah, the liabilities. It's supposed to be a positive figure. Yeah, it's supposed to be a positive figure in terms of you own more than you owe. Yeah, and I often ask that you incorporate everything. There's nothing small, there's nothing big. So if you're to take your age, multiply by your annual income, your monthly income, multiply it by 12, and then divide that by a 10th. It should give you a base of where you should be at. Some of you, I'm sure you look at a figure like this, your house is worth more than that. You're home alone. Yeah, but remember that home, if it's on mortgage, you're also deducting those expenses, so whatever it is. But I always say separate your personal and your investment monies. By the way, the placards are going up here. You've noticed I'm moving pretty faster now. Thanks for the warning. I know I can go on and on. So once you get this, please attempt. Yeah, and also to mention, I'll be around the whole of today, just in case you're stuck on any of these points, I'll be available for questions. But all this is self-work. I can't tell you to do this paper. Yeah, personal finance is very personal, extremely personal. Okay, budget. Why budget? Regulating your spending, financial contentment. Why? Because you're always showing progress. You have your important items as budget lines. Yeah, you have your money you're setting aside for that home ownership. It's a budget line. So there's that contentment. It keeps you away from debt because it gets you to operate within your means. It gets you to meet your decisions. Now here I'm speaking to those with financial goals. Keeps you organized. No bill is forgotten. Sometimes you end up paying so much because you forgot to pay a bill on time and your penalty or helps us save. This is another one. Please, please, please. Those who very important. You first take off your savings and make do with the balance. It doesn't matter how tough the economy is. Decide for yourself. 10% of your income, 15% of your income, 20%. Put that aside. And then work with what is left. You get your income, get that out, spend what is left. Don't spend and save what is left because there'll be nothing left to save. And you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. Your older self will thank you. This is just an example. Of course, this amount can be anything. This amount can be anything. You can take away 35%, make do with 65%. Yeah, for you it can be 10, so that your expenses are at 90. And now what happens with this, once you have taken this off, you're left to decide what to cut back on. How will you cut on your commute, your food? Yeah, you become very, very creative. You stop eating meat every day. You start doing the lentils and all that. Yeah, you check many other things and you're able to make adjustments. You allow yourself some bit of discomfort for a short time. Just as an example, of course you pick a percentage that meets your circumstances. One of the reasons you did not achieve last year's financial goals, first, because you didn't have them. Second, because you did not write them. Third, because you did not track how well you're doing towards the goals. And yet we do this for the corporates or the organizations we serve. Yeah, even our own practices. You're able to check this is the amount you've set aside for this particular item, and you're able to track that quarterly. You break that down into monthly, even weekly expenditure, and you achieve it. What you didn't achieve, you did not do that for yourself. But then again, you could have other reasons. Again, note to self. Why? Why didn't you achieve last year's goals? And why not? And if you didn't have financial goals, it's your cue to put down those goals. And then this is very important, yeah? Dividing your goals into short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. Yeah, write them down. And sometimes your short-term goals feed into your long-term goals. You can meet a few of your medium-term goals, and you're easily able to strike off your long-term goals. Okay, thank you very much. I'd have wanted, there's a discussion I normally have over here, but time, eh? Yeah, you're really, really pressed for time today. So thank you. Thank you all.
So, and we'll have our in the afternoon session. So any questions that you may have, please keep them with you. And as we have a more practical session in the afternoon, we'll be able to engage her more. So now we'll move on to the next speaker. You can kindly put up his slides. So our next speaker is a tax expert, and tax matters have become very topical in the medical space. And he's going to give us a talk about how to be tax compliant, and that's David Wanjohi. So David Wanjohi holds an LLM in law and economics from the University College London. He's also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a member of the Association of Certified Public Certified Chartered Accountants, ACCA. He has extensive experience in tax consultancy in both direct and indirect tax, covering various sectors, including government, public sector, financial, manufacturing, and retail sectors. He was also voted top 40 under 40 men. I don't know for what criteria of eligibility, he'll tell us. And he's also a member of the Law Society of Kenya, Kenyan Tax Committee. He currently works at Ernst & Young, where he's worked previously also in a London-based law firm in the fields of corporate, commercial, real estate, and project finance teams. And also he was involved in structuring various corporate and commercial engagements in Europe, Americas, UAE, and Africa. So David Onjoy, welcome on stage. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Eric, for that introduction. And happy to be here with you in Eldoret for this particular session. As indicated, I'll be taking you through some of the new tax issues that affect you and your businesses. And I remember growing up, I grew up in the Moi era, and at that particular point in time, we were really afraid of certain authorities, particularly the police and the intelligence service. Moving on to the Kibaki era, still the police were a bit of a nuisance, but was still Kanjo. I don't know how many of you have ever dealt with Kanjo and have ever been to city court. Please, if you can be able to bribe them, please bribe them. Last regime, I know we had a dynamic duo of the DCI and the DPP, especially if you're running for political office. Anytime you saw those outbacks approaching you and coming to take files, I think you knew your goose was cooked. But most recently, there's a new authority that has become our favorite, which is KRA. When you get an email from KRA, I mean, some people even just stand up before they even open the email. And maybe they're just wishing you happy customer service week. So my role today would be to demystify tax issues, such that in the event you get that email from KRA, that letter from KRA, you'll be very happy to welcome them, very happy to engage with them because you know you're tax compliant. So this is the structure of my presentation. And I know there are very many tax issues, so I'll just highlight some of the key ones. So starting off with the corporate income tax. So corporate income tax is governed by the Income Tax Act, as you'd imagine. And there have been a few changes when it comes to corporate income tax, particularly for the rate of tax for individuals and for body corporates. So if I can give you a background so that you can understand how our tax regime works. In Kenya, we have something called a self-assessment regime. Basically meaning that, for example, you work for the county government or Uasin Gishu in one of the hospitals. For example, and you're paid by the hospital, they deduct your PAYE, and the same is then remitted to KRA on the 9th day of the following month. And at the end of that particular financial year, you get your P9, you're able to populate, but it's still your responsibility as an individual to actually file your returns. If you're a sole proprietor and you do business, you probably have other sources of income. It's still up to you to actually determine the income that is taxable, submit the same, and file the return. As, for example, a director of a company, companies are meant to actually have financial records, and these financial records should actually be able to help you determine your gross profit and what we call the accounting profit, and finally tax profit. So once you determine your tax profit, and I'll take you through that in a short while, it's up to you to actually calculate the taxable profit, deduct that particular tax, remit, and file your returns. So based on that particular background, you should be able to use that information, be it as a sole proprietor or as a company, to be able to determine where you fall. So I know many of you would either be as residents, as resident companies at 30% if you've incorporated a company in your business. Unlikely event, I know this is very rare in your field, but there are certain companies that set up branches. So we have, and we serve a few companies that have actually set up branches in Kenya. So for example, it's a German company. They've set up a branch in Kenya. The slight change there is that there's something called repatriation profit, which should be taxed at 15%. But I think if you're at that level, you will get a tax professional who can be able to advise you. So I think number 1 and 3 would cover maybe more than 90% of the people. Coming to the income that is subjected to tax, all your income is subject to tax in Kenya. So as long as you derive and accrue it in Kenya, it is subject to tax. You work for Aga Khan, you're paid as an employee, pay PAYE, it's fine that they'll be able to deduct the PAYE and remit. But you still have chicken in the farm, back at home, you have rental income, you have dividend, all this income, by the 30th of June this month, should be able to be populated in your return, and you should be able to file. If you don't do that, you'll be non-compliant. So this is just for your information that all these incomes are subject to tax. And probably, as you, have determined that all the income is subject to tax, there's something that you need to do in terms of determining what is the taxable profit. So, and this happens to both natural and corporate bodies. So there are 3 key things that you need to think about when you're deducting expenses. And I think this is something you need to be aware of. 1 is that the expenses need to relate to that year of income. So we're talking about 2023 that we're filing by June this year, correct? So by June this year, you look at all your transactions for 2023, and you'll be able to populate your return and file. When you're populating your return, the expenses that you put in that particular return should only relate to 2023. For example, if you lost a receipt that was a big receipt in 2021, and you wanted to actually claim it in 2023, you cannot do so. So please ensure that it matches to the year of income that you actually are deducting. Secondly, it has to be attributable to your business. So I think that's, it sounds relatively straightforward, but also we get quite a number of queries. Maybe you work at home, you usually have a small office in the house, and you pay for Wi-Fi. So some people would ideally deduct that Wi-Fi expense, or would want to actually deduct part of the rent or apportion the rent. So what it means, therefore, if you want to do that, you have to show that it is directly attributable to your business. So if it's an apportionment of the rent, how can you attribute that, all the Wi-Fi that you pay, to specifically the business that you do operate? I think also importantly, if you, for example, have a company and you're operating as a company, when you're paying for that Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi should not be in your name. It should be in the name of the company in terms of the invoicing. So I think those are some of the things you need to think about when you're engaging, whether it's an accountant or when you're doing this on your own. I think it's something that is very critical to think about. And lastly is eTIMS. I don't know who knows about eTIMS. Anyone? There'll be a prize. M-Pesa, cash. And as you've said, okay, yes. And no cash is a taxable benefit. So if I give you, you have to.
So it stands for Electronic Tax, I think, Invoice Management System, eTIMS. So the government is trying to get, I think there was is it a proposal that for the expenses to be deductible, you'll need to produce or generate a receipt through eTIMS. So if you bought anything, then it needs to be a receipt that was generated by an eTIMS system.
Correct. Thank you very much. So, Nione Nyumatent, I have your M-Pesa. But I think I'd like to, before we get to eTIMS, maybe one other thing. As you're adjusting for your expenses, there are certain expenses also that are not deductible for purposes of tax. So anything that is not attributable to your business, and also this list. So if there are personal expenses, so for example, you pay for club, gym membership, etc., those are not deductible expenses. If you have an insurance policy, for example, and through that insurance policy, you are entitled to be reimbursed. For example, there are breakages and you're able to be reimbursed by the insurance. So all these are not deductible expenses, but I don't want to go into a lot of detail because also I'll share the slides. But I think let me get to ITIMs. So if you don't get anything else from my presentation today, please get ITIMs and its applicability to your business. So last year during the Finance Act, there was a lot of hullabaloo around things that were affecting your disposable income. So be it VAT on fuel, affordable housing, and now we have the famous or infamous SHIF, which I'll touch on later. But I know there was a lot of hullabaloo around that. But ITIMs, I think, even has far-reaching consequences than all the rest. So in the Finance Act, as has been rightfully stated, there was an amendment to the Income Tax Act and the Tax Procedures Act to the effect that you cannot deduct any expense that has not been generated through an electronically invoicing system, which later on KRA clarified to be ITIMs. So you'd think that maybe this doesn't apply because traditionally, for VAT purposes, we had the ETR machines. They did away with the ETR machines. KRA came up with TIMs for VAT registered persons, and everyone was forced to buy those devices. But for some strange reason, after they all bought, they introduced a free version being ITIMs. So ITIMs was clarified to be the mode through which you should be able to generate invoices. And how this will affect you is in two ways. So you have a practice. You run a clinic and you invoice patients. So quite a number of patients, myself included, I'm insured and I have an insurance cover. So when I come, automatically I just present my card and I'll be able to get the treatment. So as a hospital, as a clinic, you can be able to claim this particular expenses or invoices from the insurance companies. Personally, I serve quite a number of insurance companies. We've been trying to sensitize them, and as a matter of fact, they've said that they will not be paying claims if they're not through an ITIMS generated invoice. Because ideally for insurance companies, claims are part of the expenses. So if they pay you and you didn't give them an ITIMS compliant invoice, it means that they will pay on that particular expense. So there's been clarity that everyone needs to be onboarded on ITIMS, and the thing here is that the push will come from the people you serve. So it's not that when I come, you need to generate an ITIMS compliant invoice, but you'll find this from the people you interact with who want to deduct that expense. So this is something you need to think about. This is something you need to register for and be ready for. There are various solutions to onboard on ITIMS, and I think even on Monday they gave another solution through SSD. And I think if you need more information, please let me know. The second way in which this will affect you is that you have expenses. So as an individual, yes, you work for Aga Khan or the county hospital, but expenses. Maybe you locum for other hospitals, or you have a clinic. You run a clinic and it has a cleaning lady that you pay cash. You probably have a rider. You buy newspapers on a regular basis. So all this you've been deducting as your expenses for the years. But come the time when you're filing for your return for this year, starting 1st January 2024, you will not be allowed to deduct those expenses if they're not through ITIMS. So it's either that cleaning lady is put on your payroll and you pay for her PAYE plus NSSF plus now it will be SHIF plus all those things. Either who always comes diligently to be able to come pick your things, you will not be able to deduct the expenses. So please, if there's anything that you need to do and you need to pick from this presentation, please ensure compliance because they will not relent on it. We've had engagements with KRA and the government. They say they will not relent on ITIMS. I know saying that imported services or goods, they also, they can't register for ITIMS. Interest from banks, so they are very limited, and they're the ones at the bottom, very limited expenses which are exempt. Everything else is supposed to be generated through ITIMS. Yes? So the effective tax rate of this is 1st January 2024. So if you, let me put it this way. If your year ends any time after 1st January 2024, then you need to ensure that the expenses within that particular period qualify for e-TIMS.
For one of the challenges, I think we had a meeting with the KRA, and there were challenges with these e-TIMS because KRA will have the information about your invoices. Now, when will the tax be due? So, for example, you've come to my office, with the insurance form from Jubilee, I've given you an invoice, let's say 10th of April 2024.
Yeah.
When will the tax be due? Keeping in mind that Jubilee will pay me, are not compelled to pay me within that financial year. They can pay me whenever they feel that the claim is good.
Yeah.
So when will the tax apply? Because the challenge most of us doctors had, it will be a tax on revenue and not a tax on income. Thank you. So I'd like maybe some clarification as you continue the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So I think in terms of the tax, it largely depends on the outfit. So if you're dealing with it as an individual, as a sole proprietor, the tax is usually due the following year, the 30th day of the 4th month of the following year. That's when income tax is due on individuals. For companies, companies also have, because of cash flow issues, the government can't wait for you to finish. I'm just giving an example. From January to December, you do have your operations. December, you start preparing the financials for the previous year. So for example, now we are doing financials for 2023, and we finalize the same, and we will remit ideally by the 30th day of April. But the government can't wait for you to be able to pay the taxes the following year after probably 16 months. So we have, yes?
So that's why I'm saying it's not income tax anymore, it's revenue tax. You understand me? So if I haven't received the payment in that financial year, I'll pay an advance tax for income I am yet to receive. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, so okay, let me give an example. So you've invoiced on the 3rd of April, I mean the 3rd of March,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
You will be paid probably
2025. Because that's how it is sometimes.
for insurance.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's why we told KRA to go back and redo it, because it will be a tax on revenue rather than income.
So the challenge there,
Because
will
I
be-
can only pay tax on income received, not yet to be received.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. So
That was
okay.
the issue for us. as
So maybe
medics.
just for clarity purposes, so ideally if you invoice, I don't know, through your clinic or any other means,
through
you
the
invoice,
clinic, through the
so
hospital.
you invoice the insurance
Yes.
today in 2024,
Yes.
you will be paid in,
There is no timeline in the law.
What is
of
the
when
average?
to they
What
should
is the
pay. So,
average?
for example, they'll say in the agreement it's 3 months. If they have issues with that invoice, that payment will be withheld. So let's say, for example, I forgot to date it. It will come back after a couple of months. Put in a date. Do you put in a date in the original one, or do we do a new one? So there are lots of issues. And for us, the challenges were sometimes the payment, there is no guaranteed time when it will come. That's just how the insurance companies are. Just like, for example, when you have a car accident, sometimes they can take you around in circles, you end up fixing your car yourself. So similarly for us, the challenge we had with the e-TIMS for medics was, I'm yet to receive the income. So we are still waiting for KRA to come back to us and tell us how we'll be able to do it. Because if the insurance company pays within that financial year, then yes, it will apply. What if they don't? What do we do? So that was a question. What do you do if you haven't received the income?
okay, maybe let me just answer it simply. So when it comes to tax, there are certain things you need to be aware of, one of which being when it is due and who is liable to pay that particular tax. So this is not a unique issue, income tax. And I think we look at this, sorry, okay, I think they've seemed to have moved. But we look at this when we look at various taxes, in tax. The same thing applies. It's, if for example, I'm your lawyer and you're meant to pay me after every 6 months on retainer, it is, if you accrue that income in January and you pay me in June, you are still meant to deduct the withholding tax from your own money and remit. Same thing with VAT. If you look at Section 10 of the VAT Act, it is the earlier of payment, of invoicing, of performing the service. So either way, even then when the VAT has not been paid or the invoice has not been paid, you'll still be required to pay VAT. And I think that's the same thing with income tax. So I get where you're coming from, but also another thing is that KRA are just an implementing agency. We are getting into a legislative period. I think we should have the finance bill by the end of this month. This is why you're requested to provide your views, because that's the law as it is. It's very unfortunate, it's very punitive, but that's the law.
Point taken. I mean, if it's gonna be similarly to, I think, withholding tax, or I think for those who have VAT, I think is also operates similarly. But the challenge is cash flows will become really difficult for most entities, for most enterprises, because if there are delays and there are 90, for example, if 90% of your business is insurance and there are delays, you'll end up paying huge amounts of money in advance. And that's if you ever receive, because there are also situations where you may never receive the funds. But thank you for the clarification. I think we shall contribute when they open it up for public participation.
And also, I think more importantly, elect people who understand. Because, I mean, I'll give you my personal experience. Last year, we really participated. There were so many people who were there giving their views, but genuinely, they didn't listen to anyone. Yeah.
So we'll proceed with the lecture, then we'll have the questions at the end, so you can proceed, yeah. I
Okay,
think,
no
I think
problem.
the slides may have moved a bit, so I think just
okay,
track back.
sorry. I think
Where-
they
where
said
you
we
are.
are in North Rift, so we are running.
Yes.
Um,
Yes,
so,
okay.
I think I've finished on e-teams. I'll try to hurry up on the rest, on withholding tax. I'll also just take you through the key issues that you need to note. I think as mentioned, for every tax, it's important to know what is the tax base, what is the tax rate, what is liable, I mean, who is liable to pay that particular tax, and what is subject to that particular tax. So for withholding tax, we have these various sort of services that are subject to withholding tax. For you, I think maybe I can also put it now, it's important to know that the person paying for the service is the one who's supposed to withhold. So if you don't withhold, it is you who will be liable to pay that withholding tax eventually. So if you have any of these interest, the likes, professional fees, if you're paying a lawyer, etc., it is your responsibility to withhold. Having said that, when it is due, as mentioned, it's the earlier of when it is accrued or when it is paid. What is also important to note as a recent development, unlike where we used to pay on the 20th day of the following month, now it is payable after 5 days. Actually, in the law, last year in the bill, they said in 24 hours. So you've literally just accrued it as per your system, and you're meant to pay it based on cash flows you don't even think you'll get. So I think that's something also to note in terms of the timelines. I think this is, in terms of withholding tax, it's usually an advance tax. So it's a way of maintaining cash flow for the government, and it can either be a final tax or an advance tax. So not unless it is specifically exempted under the law, it is meant to be an advance tax. So all the issues you've seen there that were in the previous slide to do with withholding tax, they're all subject to withholding tax as an advance tax, meaning you're meant to remit the balance. So for example, if it's a 5%, you've paid me as a lawyer, the 5%, the balance I should account for it. If it is through a company, the balance being the 25%. If it is an individual, the graduated scale. So the ones that are final taxes, as you'd imagine, would be non-resident. So if you're paying a non-resident for a software, for example, that one is final tax. If you're getting dividends from a lot of the institutions, it's final tax. For qualifying interest, so money market fund, ETC, after the 15% deduction, it is final tax. Winnings, for those of you who are in betting as well, I think as a separate source of income, it's also final tax. Any other form of withholding tax is an advance tax. So I know quite a number of you earn income, you do locum, you get some of this income from any other source. So as soon as they deduct, for example, the 5%, it is your responsibility to declare the rest of the money. If you're doing it as an individual, it's based on the graduated scale, which thanks to our legislature last year, I think now income above 500,000 has a higher tax bracket of 32.5, and above 800,000 is at 35%. So I think this is something that is important to note, and I don't know whether there's any clarity, or we don't take any questions now, yeah? Okay, so these are the rates. I'll give you the slides, at least the rates will be, you can be able to make reference to this for purposes of the rates. For employment taxes, if I can quickly go through employment taxes, the first one would be, okay, but it keeps on going forward. Okay. Okay, so there are no new changes here. All I'll be able to tax as PAYE and what is not subjected to tax. Maybe I can highlight issues to do with per diem. So you're currently here for a conference. As per the law, you're only entitled to 2,000 shillings per diem. Anything over and above 2,000 is taxable, and based on the graduated scale. So I know this is bad news. I hope the organizers don't hear this, but yeah, that is what is expected. Anything over and above is taxable, not unless you support it with evidence and receipts. So if you took a cab here, you had a meal, etc., fully mentioned, those receipts need to be ETIMS compliant. So if you took a cab and the cab guy did not give you an ETIMS compliant invoice, it's subject to tax. If you go downstairs to eat and you don't get an ETIMS compliant invoice, it's also subjected to tax. So I think that's also something to note. I think the rest of, even for data, I think for data, this one we also get this information and this request quite often. But as long as it's below the threshold of that 6,000 annum, then is exempt. So also for purposes of your profession, we do have instances where you're employed, and I know you also do locum, and you also do have other side gigs. So I know by nature of the profession, as you specialize, you're called a consultant, which is a very prestigious name to have. But according to tax, being a consultant doesn't necessarily mean that you should be paying 5%. So this is a major issue. We've actually supported quite a number of hospitals around this, where they've been deducting only 5% on doctors' fees, whereas they should be deducting PAYE. Maybe I'll clarify so that at least you can be able to. The law does not specifically provide for what a consultant should be able to do versus an employee, but there are case laws around this. And based on case law, there are certain things you need to test. So what is the independence of your relationship with the hospital? So if you're employed by AR, you go there maybe Monday and Friday, and you go there from 8 to 12 for a clinic, and you're paid for your hours there. It shows that there's more independence, because then maybe the other days you go back to your clinic, you have surgeries, etc. That shows you're more of a consultant. If you are part of, are given a laptop, you are given a badge, you're even invited for staff events, you're given a bonus at the end of the year, to be honest, you're an employee, and you should be subjected to the various taxes as per the law. If you have risk, if you take the risks for your business, so for example, if you take your own professional indemnity, etc., then you're more of a consultant. If another thing we also find for purposes of consultants versus employees, you're probably the head of department at AR. You run their budgets, you sit in management, and you call yourself a consultant. There's no way you'll hire EY or McKinsey and they sit in management. We will come, do a strategy, leave it there as a report, management implements. But if you're actually implementing strategy and all the things that appertain to your management role, then you're more of an employee than a consultant. So this is something you need to note. Please look at your engagements with the hospitals. If you'd want to get the lesser, probably tax of 5% vis-a-vis the risk of PAYE, I think this is a favorite to many. Actually, this year I said I'll not complain anymore. If they want to tax us at 30% or 80% and give us the 20, me, I'm very happy, because I think last year I spent the whole year complaining and lamenting. So thank God the affordable housing levy was declared unconstitutional, but we cannot pass it by our government to quickly introduce another bill. So there is a bill saying that they will try their level best to ensure that not only will it cover, because previously it was covering employees, but now it will cover even sole proprietors. I think to sweeten it, I think was SHIF. So also SHIF, this one was already passed. We are waiting for the regulations. I think this one you know more than I do around the technicalities, but in terms of the rates is 2.75% of your gross income. So if you sell cows, that total of that income gross, including bonus, including the per diem that you get also here, you calculate 2.75% and pay SHIF. And the same thing will also be for housing levy. So I think it's something that I think will be quite unfortunate. And also, I mean, even maybe for those who are not, or maybe you're employed, but your wife has other businesses as well. The law says of gross household income. 2.7. So yes, sorry. I think just like KRA, I'm not the legislature, I'm just a messenger. So yeah, maybe just a sweetener, there is a post-medical retirement relief. So for those of you who anticipate that you'll reach the 83 years, 85 years, you can get a deduction on your, there are few sweeteners by the government, but you can get 15% of your contribution can be a relief. So it's not all doom and gloom. Capital gains tax, not major changes. Capital gains tax is usually based on what you call the adjusted cost. So if you buy, it applies to shares, it applies to property, houses, land, etc. So the adjusted cost is a tax base for capital gains tax. And basically, what this means is that if you buy land today in Kamulu at 1 million, an eighth of an acre, the taxes. There are certain introductions from a transactional that are in the medical space, because the teams were just saying that it's too expensive to run business here in Kenya, because they were saying if they transact in a foreign company, for example, the head office is in Germany, and they want to sell their shares of a holding company in Mauritius to another German entity. I mean, that transaction is not in Kenya. But they say if the Mauritian company generates its value, more than 20% of its value from Kenya and from immovable property, the German guys out there need to pay capital gains tax, which doesn't make sense. I mean, why? They don't even transact. There's no interaction locally, but these are some of the things that are making a lot of the people actually move away from Kenya as an investment hub. And I think the last one being tax dispute resolution. I don't know who's been audited here by KRA. How was the, I don't know whether I can, how was the experience?
We took a total of 8 months back and forth. I have an accountant, but all in all, I ended up paying so much. So it's really, really bad. I wish I had just paid without going through the process.
Anyone?
Guitar is my name from Embu. It was a nightmare. That's why I can call it, but at the end of the day, tuliongea na tukasikizana kama wanaume in a win-win scenario, whatever that means. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, and I think increasingly KRA have become very vigilant to a lot of the ways in which people make money. If we have rentals in Eldoret, back at home, they actually, although recently I think the court said that it was people who are appointed as I don't know, they were called ex-militia, to go around trying to figure out where people are making money. So I think they were declared unconstitutional, but they are increasingly becoming more vigilant, and they are seeing that there's a lot of money in tax disputes. And maybe what I can do is to provide a summary and enlighten you on what you need to do. You don't need to cram this. I mean, same thing, if I come to the clinic and there's a surgery, I don't need to understand everything. I just need to know I need to take drugs 1 times 3 for 7 days. So that's what I'm trying to do. In terms of the tax dispute, what usually happens and what should happen is that KRA should reach out to you as a taxpayer, and they should, usually they write a letter. So they will tell you, we know you're operating under this particular company, and we are requesting you for some information to be provided within 7 days, without which further action shall be taken. So just for information, there is nowhere in the law that requires you to provide that information within 7 days. There is nowhere in the law that requires you to provide all that information. Actually, that letter is a template. They send that template to banks, to farmers, to everyone. What I would suggest at that particular point in time, please seek help. Please ensure that you sensitize the people in the office that when they receive these letters, they should take them with due caution and be able to probably address them to the right people. Because sometimes you find the secretary receives it, puts it and actions it on your desk, but you're here in Eldoret for a conference for a whole week. And probably the 7 days will lapse. So if they can be able to deal with them with urgency, and once you receive it, I mean, there's no better way than to just advise you to seek help. Because we find a lot of people trying to cooperate and collaborate with the authority to provide a lot of this documentation, most of which will be able to be to their detriment. So I deal with a lot of taxpayers, and when they ask for bank statements, they go to the bank, they certify them, they even get the manager to sign off. I'm like, it's not a visa interview, Please, if anything, don't give them bank statements, because they use all the information you give them to assess. So if you give them bank statements or M-Pesa statements, you'll have to account for every income in that particular statement. So if you have, for example, financial statements, you're better off giving them financial statements. We do this, and this is what I do maybe 80% of my time, you would know the things you'd be looking for when it's, for example, a medical facility. There's no way they'll be looking at withholding tax, VAT, because you're not VATable. But there are certain things that they'll be looking to, for example, assess. They'll be looking at your expenses. So are your expenses attributable to your particular business? When were they claimed, etc. So by the time you're sharing the information, you're able to share information that will not be prejudicial to your case. Because once you've already shared with them, they already form an opinion, and it is what will form the assessment. So this back and forth with KRA can take a very long time. And from my own personal experience, the longer it takes before step 1, the better. So before step 1, there's just an audit, and the audit can take place for even 5 years, the better. And also, since it takes 5 years, the law says that is still within range, but if you assess for 2018, that automatically is out of scope. So if they're telling you that you have legacy balances from the previous system to iTax, that's their own problem. And if they want to demand, that's their own problem, because that's not within scope. And you can easily, if you go even to High Court, Supreme Court, you will win that case. So as long as it takes a long time to engage with them, the better. But as soon as they issue what is called an assessment or a tax decision, now statutory timelines begin to run. Basically meaning that as soon as they give you a tax decision, based on the law, you need to respond within 30 days. Once you respond within 30 days, they have 60 days within which to respond, and they are very, very strict. So the law is that if you don't respond within 30 days, and you've not sought, I don't know whether it's the government that is working against me, but, and you've not sought for extension, then it means that tax is payable. If you submit your response to KRA and they don't respond within 60 days, even though they do whatever it is, it's not payable. So I think the issue of timelines, and that's why I say even for advisories, when we're advising clients, I think it's something that is important to note. Currently, there's a case you have at the High Court. A major oil company, it's in the billions. The assessment is in the billions. They did everything for themselves. They even filed the notice of appeal to the tribunal. I mean, they had the simplest case because KRA, I think they issued a letter, I think on the 80th day, well, they should have issued on the 60th day. And because of that, I mean, that matter should have been dropped. But because they didn't follow other processes, they lost at the tribunal, and there's a 95% chance they will lose at High Court. But he raised one point. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you really need to seek some professional advice when you're dealing with a lot of these tax disputes. But having said that, I think I've mentioned the process of the 30 days, the 60 days. You go to the tribunal as the first point of call. You go to the High Court, and then Court of Appeal. And I mean, if you can go to the Supreme Court, well and good as a matter of public opinion, but it's very rare we find cases going to the Supreme Court. Sometimes also we find people, I mean, and I'm a lawyer by training, people go to lawyers, which is perfectly okay, but lawyers are very quick to go to court. So they'll be like, okay, this is a tax matter, you're violating my rights, go to High Court. There are many cases that say that the first point of call should be the tribunal. So you should first start at the tribunal, then go to High Court, then go to Court of Appeal. I think that's on tax dispute. There's also an alternative dispute resolution mechanism, which is very favorable to a lot of taxpayers. And just to wrap this up, one of the things that they've already done as an incentive to taxpayers is a tax amnesty. So if you have any taxes that you already paid prior to 31st December 2022, and there are penalties, then you're automatically entitled to waiver. If you think that there are certain taxes you've not been paying and you would want to pay, kindly do so before the 30th of all the penalties and interest will be waived. If you had not been filing your returns for the last 10 years and there are penalties, please apply for waiver because you should not pay those penalties. So there is a mechanism within which you can be able to get this particular amnesty. But on the flip side, from now, 1st of January 2023, the law provides that there's no more waiver of penalty and interest. So whatever you do, whether KRA come, they assess you 10 billion and they say you have a penalty of another 2 billion interest, there is no possibility of waiver. So if I were you, please clean up your ledgers, please take advantage of the tax amnesty, and I think you'll be able to be in a good position. In terms of pre-filled VAT returns, I know you don't have about e-teams. They'll be able to know based on your PIN, how many invoices have you raised? And they'll be able to know against your PIN how many invoices have been raised. And you'll find that your return filing will be very easy because it will be pre-populated. So they're saying within 1 or 2 years, that's where we will be at with these particular issues. So to sum up, please keep good records of all your businesses, all your receipts. Please seek professional advice, and also be abreast with a lot of the laws. Having said that, thank you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions.
So thank you so much, David and Joy, for that excellent talk. We'll have the questions coming after. So what we'll do is we'll have the next talk. I'll invite Dr. Teddy Odhiambo to be coming up on stage, and to please have his slides put up. So Dr. Teddy Odhiambo is a second-year EXACOP student, so one of our pioneering students in our EXACOP program, who is resident at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital in Nairobi. He's an aspiring neurologist with keen interest in how medical informatics and digital health can bridge gaps in medical education, research, and healthcare delivery. So AI in medicine is a very, very huge topic, so he's going to take us through its role, implications for the future, as well as whether we're going to become obsolete. So he's going to guide us on that. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for him.
Okay, so thanks again, Dr. Njenga. So my name is Teddy Odhiambo, year 2 EXACOP president. So I'm sure some of you may be familiar with this movie. This is a movie about robots taking over the world. So a movie acted by Will Smith. But contrary to this, AI has so much benefits in specifically medical education. So again, these will be objectives. AI basically means simulation of human intelligence by machines, meaning that processes that are normally done by machines are taken over by human beings are taken over by machines. So I'll be specifically talking about large language models. Most of you have heard about ChatGPT, and these are forms a group of a type of AI called generative AI, meaning that it mimics how human beings interpret the environment. So for large language models, it means mainly it tries to generate language that mimics human language. So ChatGPT is one of the large language models developed by AI. So we are going to go through this. Basically, medical education can help in practicing differential diagnosis, can help in resource suggestions, do interactive practice cases, additional practice questions, and organizing information into notes. Yeah. So some of you might have come across this data where ChatGPT is performing better than doctors in the various board examinations. So we see here ChatGPT 4 scored better than humans. It scored highest at 73.4 compared to what humans could get. So again, this is a comparative performance of humans versus ChatGPT in an ophthalmology exam. You can see that it scored better than humans again. That's better than 3, and also humans scored 82. So it means that these things are getting better, and we can use them especially in the medical education. They've been experimented in other areas, diagnostics, but not really gone far much in medical education. So this is an example. In case you have a presentation for students, that is, and you want a case to reinforce concepts. So it can create a whole case scenario, and then you can try and edit it in a way that fits your presentation. So this was created by ChatGPT, and it accurately describes what a migraine headache would look like. So again, there are different ways to which you can use this. ChatGPT can train on different notes. Provided you have notes, your personal notes, you can train it based on your personal notes. There are things that have been, they've recently come up with things called GPTs, and then you can try to upload your notes in the system, and then you can create questions for you. Yeah. So the next thing is practicing differential diagnosis. So one of the large language models is called Glass AI. Some of you might have heard of it, might have heard. So Glass AI is a large language model that operates much more like ChatGPT, but it's been trained on medical data. So what you do is you put patient notes inside it, and then it gives you the list of differential diagnosis and the plans. So this is better because, again, it removes some cognitive bias, especially when you're trying to look through a case and then you're not getting some of the diagnosis. So inputting it gives you a list of differential diagnosis. So some schools have gone ahead in the US to incorporate this into their systems in a way that as the resident writes notes, you get a list of differential diagnosis and the plans. So it's more precise, because when I'm rotating in nephrology, another person is rotating gastroenterology, and I'm doing the notes, it's going to create a list of differentials. And again, what they have done is that it's able to send you emails in the morning about MCQs, depending on what you wrote on the history. So this is much better than what you have now, and you can improve. Yeah. So this is a case of where I put in, sorry. Yeah, this is a case of where I put in patient's history and it was able to give me differential diagnosis with so much accuracy, such that the diagnosis was among the actual diagnosis of the patients. So again, it can be used for simplifying concepts. So for me, I remember p-value was quite a hard thing for me to understand from medical school before joining residency. This helped me understand it in a way that was so simple. Levels. You know, you can put prompts like as a first year, a third year, or even a sixth year, or even a fourth year medical student, doctor. So it will give you explanation based on the level of difficulty you are in. So this way it makes concepts quite simple and easier to understand through all those levels. So the other way you can try to use this is, especially for textbooks that are quite hard to understand, you can put it there and then you can get a summary. Or if you have a very long, boring text, you can put it and then you can get a good summary of what it talks about. So again, it can be used to organize the information. In terms of, as a resident, at times you have several presentations, or you're quite busy, and your lecturer wants you to, or your consultant wants you to give a summary or a mortality meeting. So this one I took. Hopefully there's no name of patient there. So what you can do is, without taking the patient identifiers, you can take data that looks like this. Looks quite disorganized, but you can get it into a table with the right prompt. So this is what I got. You just put the right prompts, and then it will give you the dates. You can go as far as creating like, the dates in terms of days. You can just tell it to assume 12th is day 1, and then of August, and 10th of October is the last day, and then it will fill that up. So this, what happens is it gives you more time to handle more other things as a student. So again, it can be used to summarize key research. So this is an example of a research I tried to search in GPT, and it gave me a DAPA-HF study. So it gives you a link at the end. So with the link, you can go straight to the a site that has the study. So you can get this far much better, and it's easier to find. So again, it can be a good search engine. The problem with the traditional Google system is that you search and it gives you a list of words. Yeah, and you have to go through everything, trying to look at the right information you want to check, and then it will give you a list of information. So this is an explanation. One I searched about multiple sclerosis and was able to give it quite accurately in terms of how you can explain it. So it makes life much easier for us as students. So again, there are several limitations for this. So you have to sort of know the field that you're asking so that you can identify some mistakes in the output that it's giving. So hallucinations is where it gives you something that, it mimics more of a human language, so you're not able to tell whether it's false or it's true. So hallucinations are quite common, and you can end up giving you the wrong information. So again, I don't know how life is quite different now, especially when you're given assignments by your lecturer. Especially, I remember I used to be told to do pathophysiology of a specific disease based with the only words. So I don't know how now this can be handled, because it can still be abused to get your things done. Yeah. So again, over dependence. So thought about future considerations, because the world is moving so fast. In the past, people used to read books in the libraries. The internet came, getting information from the internet. Initially, there was no medical information, then it evolved to a point where you can get all the papers. I believe we are moving towards an era of AI where AI is going to be very important in making life easier. So there are countries that have started doing prompt engineering, especially in the medical field, where the lecturer gives some prompts, and the prompt is, the main purpose of the prompts is to give you specific replies. That's for the student. So in a way that you can interact with the system and get the right information. Again, just to think about large language models in our EHRs. Missing a diagnosis is quite a big thing. So doing the notes and getting the virtual diagnosis and resources, something that can help patients get better care. The next thing is, the question is reimagining a master EHR for the whole country in terms of research, because getting a master EHR can give us more data, basically. And using such tools can give us more, can get us to get more research. Again, right now, specialties are now widening. There are new specialties that can be created in medicine, especially in medical informatics and digital health. Safaricom recently advertised for a position for digital health manager, and one of the qualifications was MPCHB, meaning that this is a field that's going to come. Could be a neurologist and then do this to help create better systems. Yeah. So that's the end of the presentation. Yeah.
So I'll just ask you to remain on stage. So we're now going to embark on our Q&A session, and excellent talk and excellent insights. I can see, Rosie, you're doing a good job with your students. This is one of Dr. Rosalind's students. So we'll just have some chairs to be brought on stage. I'll invite Gladys, come on stage, and David Wanjohi. So we'll now go into the Q&A session. So please, there are mics roving. Raise your hand. And then now someone can come and you can address your question either to Gladys on financial planning, David Wanjohi on e-Teams tax compliance, or AI for Teddy. Maybe Teddy, I could ask you, which specialties in medicine do you see being phased out or replaced by AI in the next?
Orbit, labs, or patient data. So that's the umbrella of medical informatics. It can go there from history, medical diagnostics, yes. So the first question with regards to AI, I tried searching before on how soon AI can replace humans. Still some time, yeah. But things like medical education definitely can improve now, yeah.
No. To David, you mentioned something called deemed income. Maybe just explain to us what exactly that means.
So, I think there are quite a number of sources of what you would call deemed income. Would occur, especially with interest and dividend. So, if you have any deemed income in the form of interest, it is payable to okay, let me put it this way. If you have a non-resident shareholder and you're meant to pay certain loans to that non-resident shareholder, there is something which is called deemed interest. So if the shareholder gave you 1 million and you pay only principal, but you don't pay interest, KRA is at liberty of deeming interest, and you should be able to calculate the withholding tax on deemed interest and to pay. Same thing also with companies. So some of you are operating companies and they've been in operation for quite some time, but you don't declare dividend. So KRA might deem that you are actually in the process of saving taxes in form of withholding tax by not declaring dividend. So KRA is at liberty. If you've been making money and reinvesting and you have very huge reserves, KRA can actually deem dividend on that particular reserve that you have for that particular company and declare, and demand withholding tax on the same. Yes.
Okay, I have a question here. So I'm employed by Aga Khan. I have an annual salary, but I have a side job where maybe I sell food to Watu wa Mjengo. For e-Teams, it says if your annual revenue is less than 5 million, you don't need to use that. How do I reconcile that if I add my annual income from the Mjengo to my annual income from my work? And then the second thing is regarding expensing, say, casual laborers for one's job, or sorry, business. Is there a solution around that? Because you definitely want to expense that, the salaries you pay to your casuals. But then, if you have to go under e-Teams, you can't do that. Is there a pragmatic solution for that?
Something related, capital gains tax. For example, you are a shareholder of a medical institution and you either dilute your shares or sell off part of your shares. Is there a limit? The second thing, the withholding tax. I didn't hear you properly, but are you saying that it has gone up based on your income bracket? Are you supposed to have more tax withheld? Thank you.
Okay, so let me take the first one on e-Teams. So for clarity, e-Teams is now not a preserve of VAT registered taxpayers. So e-Teams is every taxpayer who's providing a service or a good needs to be registered on e-Teams and issue e-Teams compliant invoices. So it's only for VAT that has a threshold of 5 million. If you have supplies, what they call taxable supplies under the VAT Act of more than 5, it's actually up to you to charge VAT on the same. And when you go to e-Teams, it gives you the option. So it's like, I think even similar to withholding tax. If you select the option of medical or professional services that are not subject to VAT, you can actually generate a zero VAT or an exempt VAT invoice on e-Teams. So that's just for clarity. And also that's what I was saying, there's someone who published some regulations in Twitter saying that there would be exemption for people below 5 million. So there's nothing like that. So e-Teams applies to everyone. For casual laborers, I get where you're coming from. I see the risk of either them invoicing or you paying PAYE. Unfortunately, the only solution I see right now is to pay them below the minimum wage. So that's maybe what you can consider doing. Or what I've seen people doing is, for example, you're entitled to 30,000. But out of the 30,000, so that you can have them below 24,000, you can pay certain expenses. Of course, you pay them 30,000 so that they can go buy food, but they can actually get reimbursed in form of food, or if they give you, I don't know, the transport that they used, you can pay it as a business expense as opposed to giving them to pay for themselves. Yeah, but as long as they're below the threshold of 24,000, then you should be okay. They won't need to raise an invoice, and also there won't be any. For CGT, there is no exemption. So I think the only exemption, I mean, if it's a public, if it is a private entity and you're selling shares, the only way you can save taxes on that is on the valuation of the shares and or the company. So as mentioned, CGT is based on a tax base, which is a differential between the consideration paid and the actual cost you incurred. So I'll give an example. Sometimes you have an entity that you maybe bought shares at, I don't know, 100,000. But then we find, okay, I don't know whether KRA is listening, but some people get valuers to undervalue the company. So if you undervalue the company, the price per share, because the price per share is determined by the value of the company, also goes low. So assuming the price per share now has come down from 1,000 to 800, there is no CGT. Or if the differential is that the share was at 1,000 and the valuation puts it at 1,050, you only pay CGT on the 50 shillings. Yeah. So withholding tax, there have been certain changes. So as of last year, the major change for withholding tax was the time when you need to account for withholding tax, which is within 5 years. And the other change was the introduction of withholding tax on promotion, advertising, digital marketing. So for those of you who are influencers on Instagram, on YouTube, and you have a following and you're paid, when you're being paid that amount, you should, or rather, the person to be paying is the one to withhold. If you have a clinic and you get influencers to come and have a promotion, maybe they're outside the parking and they're trying to woo people into the clinic. When you're paying them, you should be able to deduct withholding tax. That's the only change in terms of the rate. But what I meant is that if you are deducted withholding tax, so for example, I do work for you, you pay me, you deduct the 5%, it is up to me to, based on my gross income that I get from my salary, other sources, and the farm, to determine based on the graduated scale. So the first 20,000 I received is exempt. The next one at 10% like that. So I should be able to calculate all of it, put it in the return, and it will determine my tax payable.
Just a continuation on that, sorry. Situations that we face as doctors sometimes is that the withholding tax that you have now, that has been generated for you from your gross pay. For example, it has been generated in July, but it is within the tax year that should end December 2023. What happens now? Because by the time you get that email that tells you now there's also this, you've already handed in your whatever tax, you've already done your taxes. So is there a way that you can compel the medical institutions that they have to be able to generate those within a specific time frame? Yes.
So maybe I'll even give from a practical point of view, because sometimes I mean, I also get withholding tax. And the way withholding tax works, for example, you pay me today, you will deduct. So I automatically will receive a credit in my iTax, indicating that I've been paid, and out of the payment that I received, 5% was withheld. So for example, you pay me 100,000, 5% was deducted on your end, you remitted to KRA. In favor of my PIN. So when I go to my iTax rather, I will find that 5% which has been remitted. So for me, what I'm meant to do is I'm meant to, and actually what iTax does, it grosses up that particular amount. So if it is professional fees of 5%, it's assumed that I need to declare the balance. As an individual based on graduated, as a company, the balance of the 25%. So it's up to me to determine what are the expenses attributable to that income that can be deducted. So what I do is I load expenses. So maybe I say I traveled and I incurred fuel, I ate, all those things, which I think is okay. But now with eTIMS, it means that if I'm going to populate those things as my expenses to reduce the taxable income at the end of the year, then I need to have eTIMS compliant invoices to support those expenses. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the presentations. I had a question about the tax on consultant vis-a-vis employee. So who does that determination, especially if, is KRA mandated to come and assess your relationship with that entity that you consult for and decide whether you are a consultant or an employee, or should that contract or your letter of appointment or engagement be the one to stipulate the relationship between the two entities? Yeah, what would be your advice concerning that? Thank you.
Just to, so my apologies for my voice, just to add on what Daisy brought up. I think about a year or two ago, I work for Moi University. Some of us work for MTRH. MTRH wrote a letter to all doctors saying, so-and-so, you've been working since 2015, and you've generated this much from your private practice. KRA came, they looked, and they said, you are supposed to pay 1 million. And because of that, every time you work from now onwards, we're going to deduct that money from you. If I heard you properly, if they made a mistake and did not withhold or sort it out, it's supposed to be them paying. So I found it a bit weird that they had to deduct it from our pay going forward, and it's still going on now. What do you think we should do?
Okay. So maybe I can start with the last question. It's true, KRA have been assessing institutions, and maybe also as I answer both questions, one of the things I said, it's important to know who is liable for a particular tax. For PAYE, it's the employer. For withholding tax, it is the person paying. So if you have an invoice and you're paying to someone, it's up to you to determine, is it a professional fee? Is it a consultancy, etc.? So it is your responsibility. So in both instances, for withholding and PAYE, it's a person paying, this case being the hospital. So in the case of MTRH, I get where they're coming from in terms of deducting back taxes, but what probably you could also consider, I don't know whether you already paid the amount, but also what you could consider, already a red flag is the issue of 2015. I don't know how long ago that was, but as I indicated, now if anyone demands anything before 2019, it's not, you can't demand it. It's out of time. It's time bad. So automatically that assessment drops. And we see that quite often. I mean, when you're having a lot of these engagements with KRA, you wait for them to assess, then you see the ones before 5 years, you just, most of them are actually vacated ab initio. Having done that, then it's to determine what is your relationship with the hospital. If you're there on, I don't know, on an hourly basis, twice a week. Also, I think largely dependent on your contract, it would be good to demand of them a contract that is more inclined towards a consultancy contract. So have a sit down with whatever hospital you're engaging with, as a locum or as a full-time, as a, I don't know, whatever engagement you have, to ensure that whatever it is that they're doing correlates to what they are deducting. So if you're there and MTRH are continue to deduct you 30%, but you're there once a week or twice a week, you're more of a consultant. So it's up to you to start that discussion with them to be able to, one, have a contract that speaks to that, and two, deduct withholding tax. And I think the same thing also to your question of contract versus employee. I think I've already mentioned it's the employer who is liable to pay that particular tax.
I think we give David a bit of a break and we ask Gladys. But we'll be back, David, just warning you. So Gladys, you talked about planning. I mean, like for us now who are older consultants in our 40s who probably, like you've seen, we've not even written down a financial plan. You talked about money market fund. So what other investment ideas would you advise? Because one of the problems is, like you've had, the problems we have is trying to do investments like your Uber, rentals and all. The problem is if you're not there, that's how you get conned. So what we need is ideas, especially for busy physicians. What would you advise? Are we looking at stocks? Are we talking about treasury, infrastructure bonds? What are our other options?
Okay, thank you. Great question. And I'll start with what David said. You seek professional advice. That's why we are paid. Anyway, that's besides the point. But they say for the wealthy, average American, no, it cuts across, not just Americans. They have 7 revenue streams. 7, so even the busy ones and all. So that tells you most of them ought to be passive. And for you to decide which investment vehicle to adopt, it's supposed to be guided by the nature of your goals. Like, you didn't come in and tell me, no, Gladys, I've got X amount, where do I invest it? I'd have so many questions for you. You know, what's your risk tolerance? Yeah, will I help you, buy your stocks, this news, and your heart skips a bit. You see, I'd want to know how much of that can you take and still be okay, right? I'd also want to check on your time horizon. Is it a short-term goal? say for example, you need to put aside money and meanwhile invest it because say maybe you need to pay school fees in about 4 months. Then you see you don't want to place your money in a vehicle that's near cash kind of investment. So you see we'd consider something like treasury bills. Yeah, and you can do a 91-day treasury bill because that's putting aside money for 9 months and 3 months, and right now the returns are really good. Yeah, but you see then if your goal is medium term, then you can go for the bonds like they just concluded infrastructure bond. Yeah, most are to get their money after 3 years. Anyone who was investing, was it below a million shillings? You see, so it would make sense. That would work for your medium-term goal. Yeah, so it's guided by your goals, and hence why I kept saying, yeah, that section on goals, I can spend a whole hour plus on just that, making sure that you learn how to put down proper goals and how you break them down, and then ensuring that the investments you pick are aligned with those goals. It helps you from getting into so much trouble, like incurring losses unnecessarily. You see now, if you have taken, say, your money that you require within a short time and invested or put the monies in a long-term kind of investment, what will happen is when you need that money, you will get out at whatever cost. Shares at half price, you incur a penalty, maybe because you put your money under the wealth fund, which is one of the products insurance companies have, but you see then you're liquidating before end of time, so yeah. So it will be guided by your goals, and once they are clear, short-term goals, money market is a great avenue, treasury bills are a good avenue, sometimes even just a fixed deposit are okay to have your money in there. Medium-term goals, you can work with your circle, yeah, or wherein maybe you say you need a certain amount of money, so maybe your circle can allow you 3 times in terms of borrowing. Say, for example, working with numbers, you need 1.2 million, say maybe in a year or a year and a half. Yeah, so what would you need? 400K saved by a particular time, and then that's tripled. Yeah, you see, you can use a circle. Yeah, you can use, again, treasury bills are good. You can, you can work with bonds that are not very long-term. Yeah, so also shares, depending on which ones. So those that don't fluctuate much. And meanwhile, between the time you invest and the time you liquidate, you'd have gotten some bit of dividends here and there. And then, of course, there's a long-term kind of investment where, of course, the bonds fall in, the shares fall in, some insurance products, and some are really amazing. You can throw in there for the long term. And then there's no correct time to start. Day one is a day it occurs to you that you need to make a difference in your financials. And these things are never imposed. I've had clients paid for full quoting sessions, 6 sessions, fully paid, they default on the 2nd. They are not trading. But that person who comes in and says, I want to make a difference, they follow through. They do their work. Yeah, they do the self-work before the next, and you see the change. So it's that day when it occurs to you that you need to make a difference. It can be at age 40, it can be at 25, it can be at 55, because you'll follow through to what you're promising yourself. I don't know whether that helped.
Thank you. Just a continuation on that. You must have Muslim clients. What you're all talking about here is interest-based investments. So would you give advice on other forms of investment? Because bonds, fixed deposits, shares, and all those things are no-go zone.
I like his question. Yeah, because ordinarily we are always caught up or stuck with the traditional kind of investments. I always say, look at your own circumstances. And why? By the way, it's normally to guard ourselves, because these are the ones that are regulated. If anything went wrong with your shares, at least you know, we've got the NSE and the CMA, yeah, and every other. I mean, if you were to work with the insurance companies, they're regulated, etc. But I always say, look at your own circumstances. Many of you have your own practices, yeah? So could it be time that you invested in more advanced kind of technology? So that because of that, you're able to scale your business. Do you have an idle piece of land somewhere? I just mentioned to you 5 years is a very short time. How long does it take to grow, for example, bamboo trees? yeah, or macadamia trees, so that then you're constantly, gaining from the sale of this fruit. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it boils down to what you have in your hands. Do you have that vehicle that's just idle? Yeah, I mean, some high-end cars cannot be used for Uber, but you can be very intentional. I'm going to get a vehicle that can do both, so that you get to work, and then the gadget is switched on, and your Uber driver takes on the car for the rest of the day, and then they pick you at the end of your day's work. Yeah, what do you already have that you're not making use of, including your own skills? Yeah, if you look at it, many of us are stuck at cutting back on cost. There's only so far you can go, yeah? Everybody has their own irreducible minimums, right? You'll say, there's no way I'm going to have bad hair or whatever it is. So that has to be taken care of regardless, yeah, of the amount that you're earning. But what else can you do in terms of increasing your own? So it doesn't have to be just interest. Also think of capital gains, yeah, come into play. Yeah, but start with what you've got so that you're not overthinking.
I have a question here. Is there a way to expense mortgage payments or interest on mortgage payments for, say, for rental income, or if the clinic you run, you bought that space and you're paying back the mortgage? Is there a way of expensing that? And then the other thing, somebody mentioned about not sharing your bank statements or M-Pesa statements. I've always believed that the government has access to this. So can I run a business with just cash payments, and then you said it's self-assessment, and then I say whatever I want to say? How does that work?
Okay, thank you. So among the things that are deductible for tax under Section 15 of the Income Tax Act, interest, be it interest in form of a mortgage that you're deducting as a company or even as an individual. So mortgage interest payments, there are usually reliefs around that. So you can be able to take advantage of that to reduce your taxable pay. In terms of sharing information, yes, I mean, if you look at the Tax Procedures Act, it gives KRA a lot of powers to demand of certain documents, but at the same time, there are other issues like data protection. So there's no way KRA can be able to get your bank statements from the bank. There is no way KRA can be able to get your M-Pesa statements from Safaricom. Not unless there is an order around it from the court or something like that, they cannot be able to do so. I know there was an article that was circulating, I think 2 weeks back, saying that KRA now has access to your bank accounts, but that was only in relation to a very specific law that was enacted globally under the OECD framework, and it was domesticated in our law through what we call the Income Tax Act Common Particular Law, which they're actually regulations. They require of financial institutions, particularly banks, to disclose taxpayers who have high value accounts. So for companies, they talk of 250,000 US. For individuals, it's 1 million US. So, I mean, I know you're a doctor. I would like to believe you earn a lot of money and you actually meet that threshold, and they disclose the balance to the bank, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe to Gladys, with all these currency fluctuations, what advice would you give us in terms of now savings? So like a lot of people asking, so do I convert? But people are trying to buy dollars. If I have 3 million sitting in Kenya shillings in KCB, do I convert that 3 million and put it in dollars and sit and wait? So, yeah, so what would you advise? All this currency fluctuation, dollar moved from 120 to 172. How should we think about, minimizing loss?
Also, maybe just to add on to the other point, I think it's true, it's important to, I can't also emphasize on goals, but also when you seek professional advice, there are certain ways you can be able to save on the taxes. So I can give an example. It's pretty unfair and prejudicial to individuals to be paying tax, assuming you get 5 million every month. It means that, yes, the first 24,000 is exempt, the next is at 10, 25. As soon as you get 500,000, it's 32.5. Whereas a company pays tax at 30%. if it gets to 800,000, and between 800,000 and 5 million, so the 4.2 million will actually be taxed at 35%, which is 5% more than a company. So, I mean, just quick math, it makes sense to incorporate a company, but that's not the only consideration. I mean, some people also have trusts to have their investments, like some of their houses, and the exemptions from a CGT and stamp duty when you transfer and have your property and investment in a trust, which they usually say that income generated through trust is not taxable, and there are certain exemptions, I think to the tune of 10 million, I think, to dependents every year, and there's also, if you're paying early adult housing to people, there are certain exemptions within trust. So assuming you have a family and you have dependents, you can pay their education, you can pay them stipend up to 10 million and other things within that particular trust, and it's not taxable upon them or upon yourself. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So one of the things you can do is hedge, yeah, where you can decide on a price that's fixed, yeah, and you know, you fix the price at a particular time and just agree on installments on when to pay. At least that even makes it possible for you to do your planning. But that's now on the foreign exchange. But there are many other things that cause this fluctuation, like even just the CBK policy, changing the base rate. Now what would you do? You are servicing a loan at, say, maybe, what, 10%, and then you get that letter and it's gone up to a higher amount. One of the things you could do is just have the loan restructured. Yeah, sometimes you take a big hit. Yeah, and the equipment managers are always open to conversations. And this word moratorium became popular during the COVID times, but it's always been there. Yeah, you can walk to your banker and just explain your situation and say, between this period and this period, I just want this break, and because I'm doing ABCD to make sure my accounts are in order. So again, just being straight up, having these conversations with your financiers, and you're able to deal with that. Yeah. So I don't know, I just want to ask again, Dr. to just add to what I was talking about to his question. I want to encourage all of you to be creative. Yeah, to be creative in your spaces. The other day I met someone who's in the Airbnb space. Yeah, and first you'd imagine they have their own space that they lease out. And they told me they make a kill. Guess what their work is? Just cleaning. They don't have their own space. And they make more money than they were the ones with these outlets. Yeah, because they go collect you know, the linen, you know, everything that needs cleaning every other week, and they work with different providers, and they make money, more money than the ones with these units. Same as the ones who do photography, you know, those nice pictures that are posted online, they make more. So I'm just thinking about your own practice that you could lease. And you have that, I don't know, in your own circles, maybe you can even advertise an equipment that's unique. I wish I knew them and had mentioned them. Yeah, and then later we'll be talking about succession planning and retirement. You know, just thinking even in your own space, what can you do? Yeah, so please let's get creative. Dr. I hope I answered.
Okay, so we'll now, it's now 1 p.m., so we'll bring this to a close now. So let's give a big round of applause to our speakers, Dr. Gladys Juma, Dr. Teddy Odhiambo, and Dr. David Onjoy. You're not part of us now, so we can even call you doctors now. Yeah, so we'll have a photo session. We'll just stand on stage. Then from here now, I'll hand over to Rosie just to guide us through lunch. And she'll guide us through what we'll be doing over the next 3 days in terms of movement, so that you don't end up in Chandarana instead of lunch. So.
Right. That's an exciting way to start the conference. Don't you agree? And I think we are definitely going to have you next year, same time, so make plans appropriately. Right, so about lunch, we have to be quick about it because we want to start the afternoon session on time. You can see we are very big on time. Now, because of the fact that we are in Eldoret, we're quite a number, we didn't get adequate space close by, what we're going to do is direct you on how we're going to go to lunch. and you need to pay clear attention. So once you exit this hall, first you're going to get a meal voucher, and you have to have your name tags, because that's the only way that at the restaurant they can be able to identify you. And you'll get out, turn to your right, and you'll see a lift that can then take you to the 3rd floor, and you'll have lunch at the Farmhouse restaurant. Fill in their forms. Another option, because we are in the home of champions, we encourage you to get your steps in. And so what you can do is go down with the escalator and then walk out and then come back in through the main hotel, take the lift up to the 3rd floor, or you could just go up the stairs. I've tried it, I managed, and so I think so can you. So we'll check your steps. That will be criteria for getting in. And we'd want everyone to be seated by 1:55 for a start at 2. You can see that there are 2 parallel sessions. For those who had already registered for POCUS, it will be at the Sosiani Hall, which is directly opposite the Farmhouse restaurant, and that is only for people who are pre-registered. The rest of us will come back here for an exciting experience with Gladys again on succession planning and planning for your retirement, and then mental health. It's very important. We take it a lot for granted, and we seem to be losing quite a number of the physicians, so it's good to hear from a psychologist and a psychiatrist's point of view on what to do so that we don't get there. Otherwise, welcome to lunch, and we look forward to the rest of the conference. Karibu.